The box office results are in for the weekend, and it was a good one for Melissa McCarthy and director Paul Feig, as their new film Spy took the #1 spot with $30 million. Falling to second spot was the earthquake action film SAN ANDREAS, making $26.4 million in its second week. In the #3 spot is the new horror film INSIDIOUS Chapter 3, making $20 million on its opening weekend. At #4 is ENTOURAGE, making $10.4 million, and rounding out the top 5 is Mad Max Fury Road, making $7.9 million. John, what stands out to you in the box office results?
A couple things stand out to me. Congratulations to Paul Feig for Spy. You know, it wasn't, I think, the weakest of the Paul Feig movies, but I enjoyed it. I laughed. They had a number of good laughs, and I walked out legitimately entertained. Man, I thought Entourage should do better than 10. I really did. And it honestly, I liked the film. I thought it deserved better than 10, but forget that. Just going back, I mean, super popular TV show, really good pop culture following, all that kind of stuff. It just goes to show you, man, it's hard to translate TV to the movies, I guess. But the other thing that really stands out to me is this, you know, and this goes into a larger topic, and I'll save it for an editorial sometime, but I'll just give you a little brief introduction. So you got Mad Max Fury Road just crossed 300 million worldwide. Right. Which is great, and it dropped down to single digits on its local domestic box office. But it got me thinking. You know, I looked back at Road Warrior or Mad Max 2, right? Mad Max Fury Road cost $150 million to make. $150 million. Anybody want to take adjusted for inflation? Okay, adjusted for inflation. What Road Warrior costs? Anyway, Ashley, let's start with you. Take a wild guess on what the Road Warrior made in 1982 or 1983, I think. How much that movie cost to make? Wild guess.
$4 bajillion.
$4 bajillion is the first guess.
Adjusted for inflation, I'm going to say $18 million.
Okay, Schnepp.
Adjusted for inflation, I'm going to say $7.5 million.
And the winner is Schnepp. The actual cost was, adjusted for inflation, $3.4 million.
Oh my God.
I was way off.
Today, at the time, it was $1.6 million US to make that movie. Today, that would be 3.4. And the new one costs $150 million. I'm going to make an entirely separate editorial in this. What the F, Hollywood? Seriously, like, you've got to get your spending under control. You know how much? Then I got me go. You know how much Top Gun, adjusted for inflation, how much Top Gun cost to make?
That's a good movie. I'm going to say $25 million.
I'll say 10.
You're closest, $30 million.
Wow.
Top Gun with all those live, real air battles going on. $30 million. What on earth is going on? Something's got to happen. That's a totally another issue. Schnepp, you saw the box office results. What stands out to you?
What stood out to me is we're talking about Fury Road's hanging in there. That kicked Avengers off. Avengers not in the top 5 now, but yet Fury Road is still hanging in with 5th. I think we were talking. It's going to be like a Kingsman. It's going to stick around. I think it'll still be 5 next week, just because word of mouth, and a lot of people have still not seen it yet. And
I don't think it'll be 5 next week.
No,
no.
What comes out next week?
Well, there's
that little dinosaur movie.
That little dinosaur movie's coming,
and Inside Out.
Yeah, no, Inside Out's the week after.
I think Inside. You know, because of that, I think maybe it can stay in the top 5. Maybe it can.
It's good counter programming to all that stuff.
Yeah, it really is.
I'm really happy that I didn't see Spy yet, but I'm going to see it this weekend. So I'm happy that everyone said it was really funny. A lot of the reviews said it was great, and it seems like the audience really loves it. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm always happy to see Melissa McCarthy and Paul Feig make another really funny film together. Entourage.
Statham's great in that movie, by the way. Statham's really great in that movie.
And Rose Byrne. It's just got a great cast. Entourage. It makes sense to me that it didn't make that it's not going to be a big hit. I look at Entourage. Even though I liked the first couple seasons, I stopped watching it. I think after season 4, and it became a show that's sort of like Cheers. Like if there was a Cheers movie or MASH. I mean, just think about it. If you put it in context, where there's a series that went on.
90% of our audience have no idea about what shows you're talking about.
These are television shows that happened back in the 80s and 90s. Let me give you another one that you probably don't know. The Honeymooners. No, they already made a movie with the Honeymooners. So I'm just saying, like, a series that went on for a long time, and then there was a large gap of time, and then they made a movie. It feels like why?
But there's a recent example of that doing well, which is Sex and the City, which was also an HBO show, and that movie did very well at the box office. I think the sequel even did okay opening weekend, even though it was a total train wreck of a film. So Entourage is surprising to me because it was projected around the $18 to $20 million mark initially, and I thought that was a low number. So $10 million, that's a huge disappointment.
Well, Insidious 3 did very well. I think that caught a lot of
and
people's
it opened even bigger on Friday. Like, a lot of people wanted to see Insidious 3, and then it did usually what horror movies do. That, I don't think it's going to hold that strong next week. I think Insidious is going to have like a SAN ANDREAS 55-60% drop from week 1 to week 2, especially with Jurassic Park coming into theaters. But I was happy to see Insidious 3 do as well as it did because it's a scary movie. It's not the best storytelling, but it continues the franchise. It actually starts a franchise. It's a prequel, and I found it legitimately terrifying.
What about, I mean, Sex and the City, though, there wasn't as much of a gap between Entourage season 7 and this movie. Sex and the City ended, and then 2 years later, they had a movie.
That was going to be my next question. I was going to say, had Entourage opened a full year ago, like a year ago today, would we have seen a better result than 10 million?
I believe so.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
I think
they
so.
waited
But
too
adjusted
long.
for inflation, maybe it was the same.